Algeria is celebrating 60 years of independence from France with a giant military parade. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune seated alongside foreign leaders who included Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, Tunisia's Kais Saied. Earlier, he placed a wreath at the Martyrs' Sanctuary Memorial. Parts of central Algiers had been cordoned off since Friday. It's the country's first military parade in 33 years. French President Emmanuel Macron sending a letter expressing his, quote, best wishes to the Algerian people. This after, well, a cold snap in relations that saw ambassadors recalled last year on both sides of the Mediterranean. For more, let's cross to Jihane Boudiaf, Senior Africa Analyst at Standard & Poor's. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me.
Algeria, a nation where, well, most of the citizens born long after independence. What does this commemoration mean?
Well, the independence of Algeria is still very important for many Algerians, even for the younger generation. I mean, at the end of the day, 60 years is not a very long time. And also the state still places a lot of importance on this event. The nation of Algeria, the birth of Algeria as an independent state still holds a very important meaning. And I think this is what really the authorities have tried to do with this very important and symbolic celebration this year.
Symbolic celebration. First time in 33 years that we had a military parade. Do you also see it, Jihane, as a bit of a victory lap, since it's a reminder that it is what the Algerians call le pouvoir, the military and the FLN that are firmly in place and not the pro-democracy movement of 2018?
Well, I think this is not so much about the pro-democracy movement or the FLN. I think that, I mean, Algeria has had celebrations every year. Even the 50th anniversary was a big one. But the military parade is important because the security situation in the 1990s didn't enable this parade to take place. And now the situation is much better. And I think that also, we need to take into account the geopolitical situation that Algeria is in at the moment. I think that Algeria is displaying here this impressive military arsenal, which is an important message, I think, that it wants to communicate regionally and internationally in this more challenging geopolitical context, especially compared to the previous years. So here I'm particularly thinking of the deteriorating relations with Morocco and the ramifications over that, but also the greater instability regionally from the Sahel, and the situation in Libya is still unstable. So I think it's very important for Algeria to be able to demonstrate this.
To be able to demonstrate it, that military equipment, a lot of it is Russian-made. Algeria, which has always gone its own way, it seems, in North Africa.
I mean, Algeria is one of the largest spenders when it comes to weapons on the African continent, but also globally. And the fact that it's sourcing its weapons from Russia is not a surprise. Algeria has also other countries where it's buying some weapons. So in North Africa, Algeria wants to continue projecting that. And I think that the arms spending is also increasing regionally, and that we can also mention Morocco. And it seems that there's arms race is likely to continue between the two countries.
We saw France's president, who's just been reelected. He was able to patch up relations to a large degree with Rwanda after a painful past. They tried to do the same or similar method with Algeria, with a history commission, and yet things kind of soured. Why hasn't Emmanuel Macron been able to succeed when it comes to Algeria?
Well, President Emmanuel Macron has made some controversial declarations last year about the Algerian political system and the colonial memory, and that has been very badly perceived by Algerians, both the political class and Algerian citizens, and it has left a mark since then. So we can still say that at a diplomatic level, there has been some improvement in the past year. The countries are discussing, and both have mentioned their willingness to continue the cooperation and dialogue. But it's important to emphasize that Algeria places a lot of importance to the notion of non-interference and sovereignty, especially coming from a former colonizing state, which according to a lot of Algerians, France is not in a position to give an opinion or lecture a former colony. So I think that's why the sensitivity is really standing. But it looks like the relations are improving, and if they continue this way, then there should be no further issues.
Forgive me then to coming back to the issue of the Hirak, that the pro-democracy movement, because many of those in the crowd back in 2018, 2019, were saying we're sick of those in power using the War of Independence as an excuse.
That's correct. So there are still many Hirak activists and many Algerians, even if they do not consider themselves as activists, that consider that placing this importance on the history of Algeria is important, but is not enough. There are other questions that are very important that still remain under the discussion. And here there are still efforts that the population is hoping for when it comes to social and political dialogue for improvement on individual and collective freedoms, including on the freedom of expression. So, for example, President Tebboune has made a declaration, a presidential pardon for about 15,000 people. And that includes, apparently, according to the Algerian press, some political detainees. But a lot of the Algerians are questioning why these people have been put in prison if they just took part to peaceful protests. So these are elements that the population is still waiting on. President Tebboune came out and said that the Hirak was necessary and was important. So he's not neglecting that. However, there are still efforts that need to be made, and the Algerians are waiting on that.
I'm waiting to know the exact numbers of those who will be either partially or fully pardoned.
That's correct. That's an information that I currently do not have at the moment, and I think we should be waiting in the coming days, especially from the Algerian leads of human rights, that perhaps will be able to give us more information on the exact numbers. And I think that would be an important indicator on how much the state and the authorities are willing to give to the Hirak protest movement. I mean, this movement has been largely dormant since the COVID-19 pandemic, but it doesn't mean that people are still not hoping for other improvements.
Jihane Boudiaf, Senior Africa Analyst at Standard & Poor's. Many thanks for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thank you.